Alrighty, everyone. Thank you for waiting while we let everyone get logged in over here. Thank you for joining us tonight for our second webinar of the series. I'm Shannon Dowling, and I'm one of the Associate Directors here in Financial Aid. Before we get started tonight, I did just want to quickly remind everyone that our first webinar, Cost of Attendance and How to Read Your Offer Letter, was held 2 weeks ago, and our final one will be held 2 weeks from now, where we'll go over non-resident aid. In case you missed the first webinar though, it is posted out on our website. I would highly recommend going back and listening to it because we don't go into details on a lot of items such as cost of attendance, which you'll hear a lot about tonight, as well as some other financial aid topics and terminology. So if you do have questions after tonight's presentation regarding some of those topics, I'd start by going back to that webinar, hearing it and hearing what was covered. But for tonight, this webinar is being recorded and we will post this on our website in the next week or so. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. Tonight we'll be going over federal work study, where we'll be joined by Amanda Purchase Roberts from our Career Center. We'll talk more in depth about student employment, both on and off campus. I'll then go over the many different types of financial aid we offer. Dr. Green from our Office of Financial Success will then join us to talk about smart borrowing and how their department can assist your student with long-term financial planning. And then I'll pop back in and I'll review what the next steps are your student should be taking at this time. So just to do a quick recap of what cost of attendance is, because like I said, you are going to hear about this fairly often tonight. Cost of attendance, or COA, or even budget, as we affectionately call it here in financial aid, is the estimated average cost of what it will cost your student to be a student here at Mizzou for one academic year. And it includes two types of costs. It includes direct costs, which are costs you'll see on the bill, such as tuition, fees, res hall costs, meal plans. And then there's what's called indirect costs. Those are the personal costs your students will have, such as shampoo and toothpaste, while being a student here in their fall and spring semesters. Those costs you won't see on the bill, you'll just see the direct costs, but we always want to mention them to you because the reality is your student can't go 9 months without brushing their teeth. So your student's going to need some type of funds to go out and run and buy that toothpaste. For the first aid type we're going to start with tonight is federal work study. This seemed to be a hot topic in the questions you submitted when you registered for the webinar, so we figured we start with that. So what is federal work study? It's not a grant. Work study is not a scholarship. Work study is not a loan. What it is, work study is a real job. It's actually designed to give students access to employment that will help them meet their additional educational and living expenses. The goal is that the student will acquire marketable skills and quality work habits, benefiting them for years to come as they move into the workplace. So to be eligible for work study, your student must have filed a FAFSA. They must have demonstrated financial need according to the federal guidelines, and they must have marked yes to being interested in work study on the FAFSA. The student will also need to be enrolled at least half-time, and they must be a U.S. citizen or an eligible non-citizen in order to take on a work study job. And remember, in order to see if you're work study eligible in the future, you'll need to complete the FAFSA every academic year. If your student does have work study offer in their aid package and they wish to accept it, they'll need to log into their Mizzou account and accept it there before they can begin searching for jobs. But at this point, I want to bring in Amanda Purchase Roberts from our Career Center, who's going to talk more details on this for you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Amanda Purchase Roberts, and I work in the MU Career Center. I assist students with connecting with employment on campus and also support supervisors who offer job opportunities. As Shannon mentioned, students have the opportunity to earn money through the federal work study program. We also have opportunities for employment on campus for students who do not qualify for work study and would like to work for financial support and gain skills. There are similarities and differences between the two types of employment that I want to make sure that you're aware of. So with federal work study, you must qualify and accept the offer as Shannon mentioned. You will do your search through a work study employment system. You will apply for one position and be connected to that specific position unless you decide it's not a good fit for you, and then you can be released from that position to find another opportunity. You would earn up to the award amount, and for this academic year, it's $2,000. So you would typically work about 5 to 6 hours weekly at a minimum wage of $11.15 an hour. Some employers will offer a little bit more than that, but typically it's going to be $11.15. You will earn pay through direct deposit in a banking account of your choice. So you'll get paid bi-weekly. For part-time employment, non-work study, any student can apply. You would search for opportunities on Handshake, which is our online job posting site, through HireMizzouTigers.com. You are encouraged to apply for several positions just as you would for any other job search. You would work the number of hours based on the requirements of the employer on campus. So an employer may post a position for 15 hours a week, and you would work those hours as long as it fit within your academic schedule. But typically our students work between 10 and 12 hours weekly. Students can work up to 20 hours a week if that's based on what you need to do for your financial support. Once again, minimum wage is $11.15, so that's the same as federal work study. And our employers sometimes will pay more, but the minimum is $11.15. And once again, you'll get paid bi-weekly. So I would love to share with you the benefits of working on campus, but we actually would like for you to hear from our student employees.
Hey Tigers, welcome aboard. We are so excited for you to join our team. You are now a part of a huge network of other student employees learning career readiness skills. From campus dining staff to teaching assistants to residential life employees to researchers, student employees touch every aspect of the Mizzou student experience. Your role adds to the success of MU, and to say the least, we couldn't do this without you.
What I will take with me from Mizzou is the amazing connections that I have met. Mizzou has really set me up for success.
I believe that Mizzou has a really family-first mentality and really cares about their workers, and they care about the students overall.
Throughout my work as a student staff member, I have been able to meet a lot of upperclassmen and become friends with them and hear their stories about what they've done.
Two of my roommates I live with right now, I met through Baja Grill, which has been super awesome.
They have put people in places and leadership positions that's going to allow you to do your job effectively, to do your job the right way.
They want to assure that when you leave them, you're a much more marketable, much more knowledgeable individual than when you got there. And I think that is, I can't express how special that is, because I don't think I'll ever work in an environment again where they cared so much about developments that they weren't going to see any return on, but I would.
Any student employee job could just be another job for you to make money and move on. But if you really invest yourself within the job and the experience, you're going to take away so many more hard skills and soft skills.
Being a student employee has been the best job I've ever had. You know, I've worked a lot of jobs throughout high school and other areas of my life, and being a student staff has been the best one.
As a student and as a student employee, we believe you embody each of Mizzou's values: respect, responsibility, discovery, and excellence. We see your potential and we want to help you along your path to a bright future. At your new position with MU, you will learn transferable skills that you will take with you after graduation. We are committed to making this a valuable work experience that will build the skills you'll use for the rest of your life. We are always here to support you. We can't wait to see the ways you make Mizzou a better place.
So as you heard from our students, they are gaining valuable skills and connections to campus through their work. And we often are asked what types of positions are available. So I wanted to share with you a sampling of opportunities students have experienced. We have students who are working in roles with human resources and finance. We have students who are gaining hands-on experience in engineering and landscaping through MU operations. We have students involved in social media and marketing. So for example, the video you just saw was created by a student employee. We also have students designing graphics. This infographic that you see right now was actually designed by a student employee. We have students that are providing customer service as event staff for athletics. Student employees work as tutors in our public schools, such as with our Jumpstart program, and educate peers on campus through presentations. We have students engaged in research all over campus and through agriculture. And we also have students that assist with merchandising and sales, for example, at our bookstore and with our floral shop called Tiger Garden. In addition, students assist with troubleshooting technology and offering assistance with updating websites. All of these opportunities are great ways to enhance your skill set for the future, and we hope you will consider applying. So a question that I typically get is, how do I apply? To apply for work study positions, once again, you will need to accept your federal work study offer in MyZoo if you qualify, and then you will receive access to the work study employment system. You'll be able to search for positions based on an employer that you would like to work for, or by searching by interest. So you could enter in a keyword such as marketing or research. For non-work study positions, you're going to use our online job posting site called Handshake. It's on our website, hiremissoutigers.com. Once you enroll, you will have access to this site, and you can search for positions for part-time employment. However, this is going to be a website for you that you'll use throughout your time at Mizzou. You can search for internships, career fairs, and eventually full-time employment. You'll set up a profile, and you'll also upload your resume for review. So if you're interested in working while at Mizzou, it will be important to get prepared by setting up a bank account for direct deposit. And we also are going to encourage you to gain access to original documents to avoid a delay in hiring. You can access this particular chart on our website, career.missouri.edu/new-to-Mizzou. I also want to leave you with some additional resources so that the MU Career Center can assist you with your needs. Upon enrollment, you have access to the Navigating Student Employment at Mizzou course, and you are welcome to connect with the MU Career Center for questions you may have regarding resumes, career exploration, or searching for jobs. We are looking forward to meeting you. And I'll now turn it over to Shannon to share information about types of aid.
Thank you, Amanda, for all that great information. Students, I just like to say that there are so many departments here that hire student workers. There are times we don't even have enough students to fill all the jobs that we offer. So don't hesitate to reach out to the Career Center if you're interested in applying for a job. Okay, let's move on to different types of aid we can offer. Okay, when most families think of financial aid, they're really only thinking of free money, so grants or scholarships. But just to be clear, when the financial aid office thinks financial aid and we're reviewing your students' aid eligibility, we're actually taking into account all types of aid. So there are scholarships, whether internal or external, which we'll get to in a minute. There is the federal Pell Grant we might be able to offer. There's work study, like we just covered right now. Then there are government student loans that are offered in the student's name only. And there are also student loans that parents can apply for, both federal or private. So what does all this mean? It means when we review your students' admission FAFSA applications, we're reviewing your students' eligibility for all of the types of aid that you see on the slide, and some of which you'll see in your offer letter, and some of these you won't. So let's get talking about each aid type here. First, what we're going to do is we're going to start with scholarships. So again, what are scholarships? Scholarships are funds offered to your student that don't need to be paid back. So basically free money. And for tonight, what we're going to do is we're going to focus on two types of scholarships, internal and external scholarships. So internal scholarships are scholarships offered by us, the school, and every student who applies for admission to Mizzou has their eligibility reviewed for these awards. They're called automatic or competitive scholarships. So your student can be a Missouri resident, they can be a non-Missouri resident, they can even be an international student. They'll still be reviewed for these automatic and competitive awards. Some of these awards require you to complete the FAFSA, and some just require your student to apply for admission here. Automatic scholarships can include our Chancellor's Award, our Curator's Award, or even our Excellence Award. Awards are renewable for up to 4 years, but we can't offer these awards during the summer term. So they're fall, spring awards only. And they can continue to receive them from year to year as long as they continue to maintain the required GPA that each award requires. If your student was offered one, they would have been notified via email and it will be shown in their offer letter. Then next, our competitive awards. These awards are offered on a competitive basis, meaning we're looking at items such as your students' academic achievements, we're looking at what program they're enrolled in, and some of these may even require additional documentation as essays. The way your student would have applied for these scholarships is through our Scholarship Universe website, and they would have had to have applied by our scholarship priority deadline, which is back in January. I have to say though, unfortunately, if they did miss that deadline, really there isn't much we're able to do for them because the review for those scholarships did start right away and most of those awards have already been offered. Now in Scholarship Universe, you may see some of those awards still staying in what's called the review status, but most of those are in review because they're set aside for juniors or seniors who are here in the fall semester. Again, if your student was offered one of these competitive awards, you'll see in their offer letter. Next, let's go over external scholarships. These scholarships are ones that your student might have received from an outside organization, such as their local church, or maybe their high school offers scholarships. Maybe they even entered a photography contest and won a scholarship as a prize. These are all considered external scholarships. If your student was awarded one, please know that federal regulations do require your student to notify our office about this. So I would just have them send in an email to our office, letting us know what scholarship they won and for how much. When it comes to outside scholarships, we tend to get asked how these outside funds impact the aid package. So what we do is we will stack the scholarships on top of almost all scholarships that are offered in the aid package up to the cost of attendance. Basically, what that means is we will do everything we can to allow your student to keep as much free money in their aid package as their cost of attendance allows. Another question we hear from students and families is, where do we even begin to look for outside scholarships? And our advice is always start local first and then broaden your search. Start with your local church or start with any organization anyone in your family has been a part of. Even start with your employers because you never know who offers scholarships until you ask. Dr. Green is actually going to cover more on this topic when he hops in to talk about smart borrowing though, so you'll hear more in a little bit here. But on the slide, we did go ahead and we listed a few websites where your student can start their scholarship research. In case your student does win a scholarship, most organizations do send their scholarship check directly into our office, but if they do send it to you, the student, please go ahead and forward on into our office here at 11 Jesse Hall. Okay, that was scholarships. Next is grants. And what are grants? Just like scholarships, they're free money. So let's get started with the federal Pell Grant. The Pell Grant is awarded to undergraduates who, based on their FAFSA, demonstrate what we call exceptional need. The student must be working towards their first bachelor's degree, and the amount your student can receive is based on their EFC, as well as the number of units they're planning on enrolling in. So for example, if your student's going to be a full-time student the fall semester, they'll receive the full fall amount of the Pell Grant because they're a full-time student. However, if your student only plans on being enrolled half-time, so anywhere from 6 to 8 credit hours, then we can only provide them with half of the fall portion of their Pell Grant. Your student can receive the Pell Grant for up to 12 semesters, as long as they're still working towards their degree during that time. And you'll also need to complete the FAFSA each year to determine your continued eligibility for the grant. Then there's the SEOG award, or the Supplemental Educational Opportunity Grant. I have to say, schools are given a very limited amount of funds for this award. So unfortunately, not everyone who's eligible to receive it will receive it. But to be eligible for it, your undergrad student must be working towards their first bachelor's degree. And most importantly, though, they do need to have a 0 EFC. If I haven't touched upon it already, the EFC is calculated on your FAFSA. So you can always go back to your FAFSA to confirm what your EFC is. But again, we do have very limited funds for this award. But if your student was offered one of these 2 grants, you'll see it listed in their offer letter that they should have received by now. If your student hasn't received their offer letter and you completed it at least 3 to 5 business days ago, please reach out to our office and we'll take a look and see what's going on. Okay, next, state grants. I want to start with Bright Flight. This grant is automatically awarded, meaning if your student qualifies for it, they're awarded it. They must be a U.S. citizen or permanent resident. They must also be a Missouri resident. They need to be enrolled full-time, and they must be classified as a first-time student as defined by the state. The amounts can vary, but they're based on their test scores. So the student must have a composite score on the ACT and SATs in either the top 3% of all Missouri test-taking students, or they need to be in the top 4th or 5th percentile of all Missouri test-taking students. So again, if your student was awarded this grant, you'll see it in their offer letter now. The next grant I want to cover is the Missouri Access Grant. Again, your student must be a U.S. citizen or permanent resident. Again, they must also be a Missouri resident. They need to be enrolled full-time. They must have completed their FAFSA by February 1st of this year, and their EFC, remember that's calculated off of the FAFSA, needs to be 12,000 or less. The amounts for the award can vary. Your student can receive this award for a maximum of 10 semesters, though again, they can only receive it in the fall and spring semesters, so no summer terms. The funds can be applied to any charges on the bill, and the student needs to be working towards their first bachelor degree. I do have to mention though, that right now, the amounts for these grants that you see in your offer letter are just estimates. The reason why is the state's budget hasn't been passed yet and will be passed for another month or so. But once it is passed and the state knows how much they can offer, if it turns out that the amount ends up changing, whether increased or decreased, we'll go ahead and we'll update the amount in the student's aid package and we'll email your student the new offer letter. Gosh, if I haven't said this yet, students, please pay attention to your emails that you receive from our office, because this really is our main method of communicating with you. If you're not sure why you received an email, if you're not sure why you received a new offer letter, reach out to us. It's what we're here for. We're more than happy to go over those changes with you. As for state grants, there are some additional smaller grants that the state offers. I would head out to their portal and review those programs and see if there are any other grants you can apply for. Next, I will talk about our institutional need-based grants. And first, there is the MU grant, which is awarded to undergrads showing what we call significant financial need. Again, they must be working towards their first bachelor's degree. They must have submitted their FAFSA by our priority deadline, which was January 7th. The amounts of this award can vary, and your student can receive the grant for a total of 8 semesters, again, for fall and spring only, not including the summer term. If your student was offered this grant, it would be shown in their offer letter now. The next grant is the Missouri Land Grant. This grant covers full tuition and fees after all federal, state, and institutional gift aid has been applied. The student must be Pell Grant eligible. They must be working towards their first bachelor's degree, and they must have completed their FAFSA, again, by our priority deadline, which is January 7th of this year. The amounts of this award can vary. But the student, again, can only receive it in fall and spring semester. So again, not during the summer term. And if your student was offered one of these grants, it would be in their offer letter now. I also want to quickly talk about some other resources here that you may want to use to help cover those out-of-pocket costs. And while they're not scholarships, we do receive quite a number of questions on these topics. So I want to make sure I cover them with you. If you have a 529 plan and you're going to use those funds to help pay out your out-of-pocket costs, please go ahead and have those checks mailed into the cashier's office here at 325 Jesse Hall. But be sure, and I'm going to stress this, be sure to include your student's ID number on the check so we know who to apply those funds towards. VA benefits. If you have any veterans benefits you plan on using in the upcoming year, please reach out to our Veterans Center here on campus, because they'll work with certifying what benefits you have and how much you have to use. And last but not least is our payment plan. So if you choose to make the monthly payment plan listed on your bill, just know there's a 1% charge on the unpaid balance. And I want to give you a quick example of that. So if your total outstanding bill is $6,000, we'll split that into 4 evenly split payments, which would be $1,500 each. but that 1% charge is charged on the outstanding balance of $4,500 on that first bill. So instead of paying that $1,500, you'll pay $1,500 times the 1% fee on the $4,500 outstanding balance, which is $45. Your first payment will be $1,545. But if you have any questions regarding the payment plan, I would say reach out to the cashier's office. Okay, loans. Now that we've covered grants and scholarships, let's jump into student loans. So believe it or not, government student loans go quite a ways back. They actually were introduced back in 1965, and they offer two types of student loans, the subsidized loan and the unsubsidized loan. The government sets the limit on how much we're able to offer a student, and it's based on their year of enrollment, as you can see on this chart. So you'll see that as an incoming freshman, the maximum amount we're able to offer your student is $5,500, out of which no more than $3,500 can be offered in a subsidized loan if your student qualifies for the subsidized loan. The loans are offered in the student's name only. They're not credit-based, and you have to complete the FAFSA every year to have your loan eligibility reviewed. But just know, students and parents, families here, the student's not required to accept these loans if you don't need them. And I'm going to leave a pin in that right now because Dr. Green's actually going to talk a little more about this when he hops on and talks smart borrowing. Okay, so for the subsidized and unsubsidized loans, let's get into a little more details here. They do offer a fixed rate, which is currently 3.73%. The rate does change from year to year, and we're not going to know until July 1st what the new interest rate will be. But once we do know, we'll be sure to update our website with that information. Should you accept these loans, what we'll do, just so you know, is we're going to split the total amount you accept in two, meaning half will be applied to your fall bill, the other half will be applied to your spring bill. There is what's called an origination fee that the government charges your student, though, to take the loan out, and that's currently 1.057% of the total amount borrowed. That means if your student accepts a $3,500 subsidized loan, you're not going to see $3,500 applied to your bill. So remember, we're going to take that amount and we're going to split it in half. So $1,750 for the fall, $1,750 for the spring. But the amount that's actually going to be applied to the bill is $1,750 minus the origination fee of 1.057%, which is about $18 on that amount. So instead of $1,750 being applied to your bill, you're going to see $1,732 applied to your bill. I know that can be confusing, but I hope that makes a little bit of sense here. And I mention it because really, you want to take those real figures into account when you're figuring out your out-of-pocket costs. Okay, if your student accepts one of these two loans, they'll need to log into their MyZoo account and let us know what loan they're planning on accepting and how much of each loan they're planning on accepting. Remember, just because the loan was offered does not mean you need to accept the full amount. We can't increase the amount of the loans offered to you. Remember, the government sets those limits. But you, the student, can definitely reduce the amount that you accept when you log into your MyZoo account and just let us know. Remember just to borrow only what you need versus what's offered. Repayment on both of these loans begins 6 months after your student falls below half-time enrollment, which most people tend to think repayment doesn't begin until after your student graduates. But I wanted to be sure to point out that if something comes up during your student's academic career and say for some reason they need to take a whole year off of school, because they'll be enrolled less than half time for more than 6 months, they'll enter the repayment phase during that time frame. So we always want to be sure you know that repayment begins 6 months after your student falls below half-time enrollment. One question we hear regarding these loans is, what's the difference between the subsidized loan and the unsubsidized loan? And can my student receive the full $5,500 in the subsidized loan? So first, the difference between the two loans is that the subsidized loan is need-based, which we did cover on our first webinar, if you have the opportunity to go back and listen to that. And it doesn't accrue any interest while your student remains enrolled on at least a half-time basis. If your student doesn't have any need in their aid package, we can only offer them the unsubsidized loan. And just so you know, any student who completes the FAFSA and who's eligible to receive federal financial aid can be offered the unsubsidized loan regardless of your family's income. So don't hesitate to complete the FAFSA just because you think you might not be offered any additional any financial assistance. The next type of government loan is the Parent Plus loan. This the Plus loan is a loan that the parent can apply for to assist their student in paying their educational expenses. Let me be a little more specific here. Any legal parent can apply for this loan. What that means, unfortunately, is grandparents, aunts or uncles, family, friends, they're not able to apply for this loan on behalf of your student unless they actually choose to co-sign on the loan with you. But this loan can be taken out to cover all of those educational expenses your student will incur, such as tuition and fees, residence hall, meal plan costs, books and supplies, or even personal costs, such as the toothpaste and shampoo I mentioned a little bit ago. Yes, those are even considered educational expenses because they're real items your student's going to need to purchase while they're a student here. Unlike the subsidized loan and unsubsidized loan, the Parent Plus loan is credit-based, meaning that if you, the parent, would like to apply for this loan, you're going to have to go online to studentaid.gov and complete and submit the application there and hopefully become credit approved for it. The current interest rate for the loan is 6.28%, which is fixed, but again, the rate can change and we won't know until around July 1st what that'll be. Again, we'll post it to our website once we know. But unlike the subsidized and unsubsidized loan, your student can't accept this loan through a MyZoo account. They cannot. So again, you, the parent, you're going to need to go to studentaid.gov and complete the application there. The application actually is now available in case you guys want to go out there and get a jump start on applying for that. One question we received from first-time parent borrowers is, when should I apply for the loan? And honestly, the answer is really up to you. So because the loan is credit-based, I would say if you have any concerns about possibly becoming approved for the loan, I would apply sooner rather than later. That way, if something happens and you end up not being approved for the loan, you have time before the first bill becomes due to possibly look for a cosigner to reapply with or make other financial arrangements. But again, the loan is credit-based and you have to go through the whole process for it to be completed. So I wouldn't wait until the bill is due to apply. Really quickly, if you do apply for the Parent Plus loan and you do become denied, reach out to our office. We can go over what other options you may have at that time. Okay. So parents, if you'd like to see what your potential monthly payment would look like ahead of time, if you took out that Parent Plus loan, studentaid.gov offers what's called a loan simulator under the Manage Loans tab. You can head over to that loan simulator, plug in the amount you think you might need to borrow over the next 4 to 5 years while you're students here at Mizzou, and the simulator will actually show you what your estimated monthly payment would be based on the information that you plugged in. So what I did is I went to the simulator. I plugged in that I thought I may need to take out about $20,000 in a Parent Plus loan over the next 4 years. And the simulator is telling me that my estimated monthly payment will be about $193 per month once I go into the repayment phase of my loan. The results will vary, but I did want to point out this resource to you because it's a really cool tool and it can help you plan for the repayment phase of your loan. Okay, now students or parents, if either of you take out one of these government student loans I just mentioned, there is some paperwork that you'll be required to complete before our office can apply those funds towards the bill. I always tell people that, you know, hey, if you take out a mortgage loan, there's paperwork you need to complete. If you apply for a car loan, there's paperwork you need to complete. Student loans are no different. There's paperwork you need to complete. So students and parents, you need to complete what's called the Master Promissory Note, or otherwise known as the MPN. And students, you'll also need to complete what's called entrance counseling. Both of these steps can be found on studentaid.gov. Really quickly, though, you know, in my experience in financial aid, I've sat with students as they've completed these steps online. I have seen students fly through the entrance counseling session. And I do want to take a moment here to say to the students, please really pay attention to the information that's in this entrance counseling session, because it's what the government uses to try to educate you on what a student loan is. It goes over all the different types of repayment options you may see when you enter repayment. It also goes over estimated monthly payments you may be required to pay when you enter the repayment phase of your loan. So there's really a lot of valuable information that's covered in the entrance counseling session. So again, students, just please take your time while you're completing that and really be thorough and read what's there for you. Parents, again, you too have to complete the Parent Plus Master Promissory Note. If you were initially turned down for the Parent Plus loan and reapplied with a cosigner and became approved for it, you'll also need to complete what's called credit counseling. But again, the steps are out on the studentaid.gov website under the Complete Aid Process tab. I do want to point out to parents, please be sure when you're logged in to studentaid.gov that you're logged in using your own FSA login in person password. I have seen many times Parent Plus Master Promissory Notes coming in that were completed by the parent, but they were using the student's FSA login and password, and that won't work. We can't pay your Parent Plus loan out until all the paperwork has been completed in your name. The last loan type I want to cover are private loans. We've gotten a lot of questions on private loans here. So these loans are loans not offered by the government. So maybe your bank or local credit union offers private student loans, and maybe after doing your own research, you find that private student loans may be a better fit for you. They may offer better rates, better repayment options, and you'd rather apply for that loan instead of a Parent Plus loan. Totally fine. Just know this is a type of aid that you won't see in your student's offer letter because we can only show you government loans. If you want to do research, if you want to look into private student loans, we do have a section on our website that can help you choose what private student loan to apply for. Okay, I just went over a lot of information. I know that. If you're anything like me, you're probably going to walk away from this webinar remembering maybe 30% of what I've just gone over, and just know that's okay. We anticipate that happening. We actually have a website. The second picture on the slide here is the picture of our website, Mizzou One. It's just mizzou1.missouri.edu. You can go there and look up all of these financial aid topics. You can look up how to accept your loan, how to apply for a Parent Plus loan, how to look for private student loans. So I definitely recommend you going out there and looking at that website. And again, remember, our office is here to help. So next, I do want to introduce Dr. Green, who oversees our Office for Financial Success, and he's going to join us and talk to you about smart borrowing.
Thank you, Shannon. Hello and welcome to Mizzou. I'm Dr. Jim Green, the Director of the Office for Financial Success. At Mizzou, there are 3 offices on campus to support you and your personal finances: Cashiers, Student Financial Aid, and the Office for Financial Success. To give you a little bit more about OFS, here's a short video introducing OFS, commonly referred to as OFS.
Did you know that 70% of college students admit to having personal financial stress, and 30% have considered leaving school because of that? Hi, I'm Vivi Abraham. At Office for Financial Success, we provide peer-to-peer coaching, empowering you to make healthy financial choices. That means other Tiger students are here to help you. Want to create a smart budget or financial strategy? We'll help evaluate your relationship with money, adopt some financial habits, and decrease your overall stress. Want to learn money saving tips in a group setting? Sign up for one of our workshops on topics include money in your life, credit reports and scores, and the impact of savings and investing. Look for our workshops in MU Engage, make an appointment using MU Connect by searching Financial Success, or swing by if you're near Stanley Hall. We are in room 162. Learn more at financialsuccess.missouri.edu or on Canvas at the Student Health and Wellbeing course site. Come see us. We'll have coffee for you.
In summary, at the Office for Financial Success, we try to improve your financial knowledge and reduce your financial stress by offering one-on-one peer financial coaching and 5 workshops each semester. As was previously discussed, when we talk about paying for college, you start with the cost of attendance. When you remove the scholarships and grants, You are left with what the student is responsible for. There are 3 sources of funds that students can use to pay their portion of the cost of attendance. Past income or savings, if the student or their family has any funds saved up for use in college. Current income or work by the student or family members during college if they're going to contribute. And then last, future income, meaning the loans. I'll address smart borrowing as it applies to loans in a moment. Since free money is so important, let me add some information to what you already heard and hopefully motivate and you towards concerning scholarships and grants. Scholarships and grants come from 3 sources: the university, state, federal, and external. As we say external, think of the affinity organizations like the local Rotary Club, or as Shannon mentioned before, a photograph or photography grant. For either of these sources, your eligibility will be either merit or needs-based, or based on your group affiliation, or maybe a combination of these. The application process is normally either somewhat automatic, meaning you just fill in a form, or perhaps competitive, where you supply information like an essay. I encourage you to continuously search for and apply for scholarships for all the years you were in college. Think of it as your job. Here's an example. If you spend 4 hours a month each year applying for scholarships, you will have spent 48 hours in 1 year. Now imagine you were awarded a $1,000 scholarship. Was it worth your time? You just made a little more than $20 per hour. This is similar to 80 hours working a part-time job. Again, was it worth your time? Now let's turn our attention to loans and smart borrowing. A common misconception is the amount of loans you are offered is what you need. Though the U.S. Department of Education does its best to match your funding needs, the calculations are only estimates. You need to calculate your budget to determine the least amount of loans required for your situation. If your budget calculations require you to use all loan funds available, then you should do a risk-reward analysis to determine if the loan burden is manageable in your future salary. The Career Center and your academic advisor can help determine salary expectations related to your academic program. Let's discuss student loans in more detail. Student loans normally come from 2 sources, federal and private. Federal student loans are available to students and most parents of students based on unmet need. Private loans are available to those with proper credit score. To apply for federal student loans, you must complete the free application for federal student aid, or FAFSA. I know you've heard that a couple of times already now. Each year you are in college. For private loans, it depends on the bank and their application process. So let's do a quick comparison of the 2 loan sources, federal and private. For federal loans, there is no credit needed except for parent loans. A credit score is always part of private loans. Federal loans have relatively low fixed interest rates, where private loans can be variable or have teaser interest rates. Repayment options in the federal system are well defined and structured. Some repayment plans are based on income, not just on how much you owe. Repayment of private loans are normally standard repayment plans, and income-based repayment is extremely rare. There are several loan forgiveness plans in the federal system where there are none in the private system. Though a little depressing to talk about, if the student borrower passes away or becomes disabled, their loan balance will be canceled, which is also called discharge. This won't happen with a private loan. The borrower's estate will still need to pay the loan balance. As I end my part of the webinar, I want you to notice the information behind the handsome guy in the picture. These are all of OFS's social media accounts. We mainly use Instagram, so please follow our Instagram account at Mizzou OFS. If you remember the key phrase, financial success, you can use that phrase in almost every Mizzou program search and get our office. Financial success is also the beginning of our website URL and our email address. So what should we take away from this portion of the discussion? Free money is the best money, and to get free money, you need to apply. Please do not assume the U.S. Department of Education knows your specific financial situation. So Create a budget and borrow only what you need, not necessarily what you are offered. Financing college is an ongoing process. Please take advantage of OFS's services so you can be financially capable to change the world. Now I'll turn it back over to Shannon, who will cover the next steps. Thank you and welcome to Mizzou.
Thank you, Dr. Green. Okay, everyone, so we've gone through all the different types of aid we could potentially offer your student. So what I want to do now is I just want to go over some next steps that your student should probably be doing. So first, students, please be sure you're paying attention to your to-do list in your MyZoo account. Remember those master promissory notes and entrance counseling sessions that I mentioned earlier that you'll need to do if you accept a government student loan? This right here, your to-do list, is where we're going to remind you of those steps. They won't be posted until around mid-May, but beginning in mid-May is when we'll start reminding you of those items to be completed. One thing I want to say is we hear all the time from students or parents, you know, I've already completed the master promissory note. We've already done the entrance counseling. Believe me, we hear that from students all the time. But if that item is still showing in your to-do list, that means it's still outstanding. So it means we haven't received it yet. Go back up to student.gov and get those steps completed. We want to make sure that those are done before the first bill is due, because we cannot, and I repeat, we cannot pay out the student loans until the items have been completed. So just be sure to keep an eye on that to-do list. But when you're in your to-do list, if you click on the More button in there, we'll actually make it as easy as possible for you, and we'll take you to the links that you'll need to find the documents that we're actually requesting from you. So when you're in your to-do list, be sure to click on that More button. Okay, students, this is specifically to you. If you're going to have a parent or a guardian or aunt or uncle help you in getting financial aid or billing questions answered, you need to tell us who we're authorized to speak to. Parents, this is to you. I have to take a quick moment and mention, because we do hear this from parents a lot, that once your student begins their college experience here at Mizzou, per federal regulations, we cannot provide you with any information regarding any aspect of your student's account here at Mizzou. So if you call and ask us questions regarding their financial aid, or if you call cashiers and you're asking questions regarding their bill, yes, while you may be helping them pay those costs, the reality is we cannot provide you with answer to those questions unless your student provides us with that authorization. And the way they can do that is by logging into Mizzou One. I mentioned it earlier, mizzou1.missouri.edu. Have your student log into Mizzou One and search for granting access. There are several different types of access to grant. So you want to be sure that they're providing you or whomever else may be assisting them with the access that they'll need in order for all of our offices on campus to speak with them. So if after this webinar, you sit down and you look over your student's offer letter, and you look at the cost of attendance and you try to put your budget together and you still have financial aid questions, please reach out to us. It's what we're here for. We always enjoy looking at meeting students and families here. I love speaking with you guys when you come in here. We understand financial aid is not the easiest concept to understand. So let our office help you. That's what we're here for. You can book an appointment when you're logged into Mizzou Granting Access. So just again, click on the financial aid topics and you'll find Make an Appointment with the Financial Aid Advisor. But I mean it. We're here to help you with this process. Office for Financial Success is here to help you with your student put together their financial plan for the next 4 years. Please reach out to us. Things students should remember throughout the academic year are, again, please read all of the emails you've received from any office on campus. The offices here will send any requests for documentation we may need from you. We'll send any changes that have been made to your account directly to your email. So students, please read all of your emails. And if you have any questions about any email you receive, reach out to that office or make an appointment with that office so they can help you understand the changes that took place. Don't forget, you will need to reapply for aid every single year. And I would apply even if you think you won't qualify. You never know what might be offered to your student in that academic year. But I do want to point out Mizzou does have our own priority dates. So make sure you're aware of what those are so you remain eligible for all types of aid we could potentially offer your students. And one other thing, keep in mind, most scholarships here, actually all federal financial aid, requires that you have a specific GPA at the end of each academic year that you must meet. So head on over to the financial aid website, review that information, and make sure you're aware of what GPA you need to maintain to remain aid eligible. And if you're not a Missouri State resident and you'd like to learn more about how to go about obtaining Missouri residency and what effect that might have on your aid package, please join us for our last webinar of the spring season. It's being held Thursday, April 21st, 2 weeks from tonight, and it'll be held at the same time from 7 to 8 p.m. Last but not least, please follow us on social media. We'll post important dates, deadlines, and we'll post reminders for your students throughout the year there. If you didn't get it earlier or you don't have it, here's our contact information for all of you. And really, thank you for taking time out of your evening tonight to learn about financial aid that we can offer. Again, please reach out to our office if you have any additional questions or concerns regarding your student's aid package. We really are here to help you all. So thank you and have a great night.